I am a 16-year-old Fortnite nerd with years of experience improving at Fortnite myself and helping others improve too. And if you want to know why you're not reaching pro level in Fortnite, I'm about to expose the critical mistakes that are secretly sabotaging your gameplay. Mistakes so subtle, you probably don't even realize you're making them. Just yesterday, I was coaching a viewer who was shocked when I pointed out these mistakes. While these errors are surprisingly easy to fix, pro players are actively hunting for players who make them. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to eliminate these weaknesses from your gameplay. First up, let's talk about single boxing. This is probably one of the most dangerous habits you can have in competitive Fortnite. When you're sitting in a single box, you're basically handing your opponent the control of the fight. Think about it. When you're in this kind of situation, you'll have no way to escape. You'll have no counter-attack options apart from a pre-fire, and any decent player is going to exploit this and get the upper hand in the fight, most likely eliminating you. They'll either take your wall first try, or they'll just spray until they get in and do some sort of phase into your box. Once they have your wall, you're literally finished. You have zero control over the fight, and any good player will know exactly where you're going to go next. A very good rule to have is controlling at least 2 or 3 boxes at all times. Having 2 or more boxes gives you so much more options, such as escape routes. It keeps your opponent guessing on where you're going to go, and you're a lot less predictable. Not only that, you just genuinely have more control and ways to edit and different angles you can create. So having these boxes is so important. The viewer that I taught yesterday didn't actually know very much about this, and is actually one of his biggest mistakes, and was a reason that he was getting beaten by better players. He didn't even realize it, but not having these 2 boxes was so detrimental to the way he plays and how many people he can beat. So just for some more depth into this point, I'm going to quickly show you what I mean, so you can't misunderstand what I'm saying. So let's say you're getting shot from over there. The first thing you want to do is make 2 boxes exactly like this. Also pay attention to the fact that I have cones on the floors here. This is the best way to box up in solos, having 2 boxes with a cone on the floor, a cone above, and having all the walls around. Making sure you have this center wall is really important. I'm going to show you why. Let's say you're in this box and you're trying to defend from me, and I eventually grab your wall. Your only option then is to either edit like this and back up, or you're just going to back up. The most likely option is you're just going to back up and you're going to try and place a wall here. But because I'm a faster player, I'm most likely going to be able to grab this wall in time before you can walk all the way back and then place the wall. This then allows me to get a massive peak advantage on you right here. I'm probably going to at least hit 100 damage in this situation, which is then going to put you in a really bad position. And from this point here, there's not really many options that you have. You can either go up, back, left, or right. And any good player would know to go back or up. But a lot of the time, the player will go out left and right. And in this situation, I would just run out the box, get on top, and just start pre-boxing where I think they're going to go. That is the main reason for doing the wall in the middle. And it's also the main reason for doing the double box. I wanted to quickly show this. This is a perfect example of why you should not box up into one box. If you look here, he's boxed up into one box. I've taken his wall, I've then edited on him, took his cone, he's tried to box out, and I've already full boxed him and took him out very easily. Next up, we need to talk about having no cone in your box. I know this seems very simple, but this is one mistake which is getting so many of you killed. When you don't have a cone in your box, any player that's half decent is going to exploit that straight away. But that cone is not only good for piece control, it's also really good for protection in certain situations, which I'll show you in 2 seconds. I come up against a bunch of players that make this mistake, and I always take advantage of this mistake, and they literally never win the fight. The problem with this tip is a lot of people just look past it and don't really take it into account because it seems very simple and very dumb. However, making this mistake is actually one of the biggest reasons that people die, and I think this is where I actually get the easiest fights, when people don't have a cone in their box. Now I'm going to quickly show you why you should always have a cone in your box. So let's say you have a singular box, which you shouldn't have, but let's say you just had it, okay? And I come up to you. Oh wait, I need to get rid of the cone. Hold on a minute. And I come up to your box and I do a diagonal box attack or box I don't know, whatever you call it, and I'm coming at your box diagonally. Next off, I'm going to check if you're holding the wall, and I'll know this if you've got your builds out. This obviously doesn't mean this 100% of the time. You could be editing, you could be looking to build out, or you could be looking to do other things, but most of the time they will be holding the wall in this situation. So what I'm going to do is I would jump, and knowing that you're holding the wall, I'm going to, and also knowing that you don't have a cone in your box, I'm going to shoot, and the first thing I'm going to place is either a cone of my own, or I'm going to place a stair of my own. Once I've placed that stair, you're most likely going to win this wall back, but you're going to be in a very bad situation. The one I do the most, which is actually the less effective one, is the stair. I do this because as soon as I place this stair, I know that you're either going to box out here, and I can pre-box and make an angle here, or you're going to box out all the way on the other side right here, so I can just jump through and edit on you there. But the more effective one to do is actually the cone. This is because although it doesn't reduce your movement as much, it does actually put me in a better situation to win this wall and then make a peek on you, and it makes it harder for you to go out any other direction. So I would definitely recommend doing the cone over the stair, but if you want to be like me, you can use the stair. So what I would do is place the stair in your box, edit up, and look for a pre-box, depending on where I can see that you're going. Although you may not think that this is that bad of a situation to be in, I'm going to try and get some footage for you of what it looks like to be in the POV of someone that literally just has a cone placed in their box like this, and show you how actually like off-putting it is in the moment. Moving on to peeking, this is where most of you are throwing your fights away. Bad peeking is literally giving your opponent free shots on you, and it is also something you can fix quite easily. It just takes a bit of time. Taking wide peeks or open edits is not a good idea in 99% of situations. This is because it leaves your whole body exposed to be shot. Although you might be getting a good shot on them, you're still putting yourself in a very bad situation, and this is called a 50-50. 50-50s are obviously bad because it gives you a 50% chance at winning the fight, but you want to increase it to about 90% of chances of you winning the fight. The worst thing you can do is learn how to peek and then peek at the same angle over and over and over, because it gets quite obvious to a lot of people. But this isn't just a beginner mistake. There's even top tier players that still make these mistakes, and is usually the reason they get sent back to the lobby, even though they are so good at the game. One thing you need to know about peeking is that every peek has a purpose and should only be used in certain situations. This is something that many players do not actually know at all, and this is where they get stuck, and this is where they get killed. Because they don't understand what situations to do each peek in. I'm now once again going to show you what I mean in game. So let's say you're a box away from your opponent. They're in that box and you're in this box. They don't have a cone in your box, but you're not allowed to place a cone in there. Just for this example, pretend the opponent was standing here in this corner. Let's pretend your opponent is standing like this here in this corner with his shotgun out, getting ready for you to edit. If you do a normal peanut butter edit, it's going to put you in a 50-50 situation with this guy, because all he has to do is just jump out and then headshot you, and it's game over. The better peek to do in this situation is this peek. This is because I can shoot your feet and you will not be able to see anything. I can actually get shot where I am right now, and you won't be able to do anything back unless you try and run around, which you're then going to run straight into me, and I'm going to know to reset. And you may be saying, oh, well, the only reason that this works better is because you haven't said that they're going to run around and jump. Well, in this situation, you can't hit them at all if they're standing there. But in this situation, you can get literally all of their legs and before they're even around here. So all you have to do is that. And same goes for almost every single other peek. Every peek is meant for a situation. Let's say your opponent is standing back left or back right. You can then use your peanut butter peak and it'll be much more effective. Also, with the peanut butter peak, I always want to talk about how if you're standing at the top of a cone and you do the jump, it's not going to work. You're just going to expose yourself completely and get hit massively. If you're doing a peanut bar on a cone, either do it at the bottom and jump, or stay around the middle of it and do a little peak like this. Anyway, back to the situation. Let's say your opponent is here and you don't want to do a peanut butter peak because you already did one. You can then do a window peak, which will work really well. And window peaks work really well across the box. So let's say your opponent is standing there. If you do a window peak and peak like this, it works really well. And the last thing I want to talk about with window peaks is to never use this peak. I told my viewer that the other day as well. He kept doing peaks with the big window peak, and they can be used, but I would definitely recommend avoiding them. One last thing for the peaks section is this. This is something, once again, I saw in my viewer yesterday, and it was when we was box fighting. So we was in this situation here. I was in this box and he was in this box. He was in that box over there, pressuring my box. When we was in this situation, I decided to make a wide edit to see what he did and wait it out with my pump here. He was already low health in this box, and his idea was to try and make a peak here. This was a bad idea. This peak is very bad for any situation ever, especially across here. Over this direction, it wouldn't have been as bad, but in this situation, this is so bad. You're literally completely exposed to the gunshot in any situation right there. Instead, what he should have done is either try to do this peak or just gone from this angle and attack this wall instead. So basically, the main thing I want you to take away from this section is to always move to the left. No, that's wrong. Don't ignore that. The main thing I want you to take away from this little situation here is to never move to the left in box fights. Always try and move around the right, even if you have to go backwards and round. Oh, that's an alarm. So always go to the right. Even if you can't go out here, just take a step back and make a box here, and then you can let long piece from here, and this will be a much better situation than going here. So next we're going to talk about why fighting bad players is actually making you bad at the game and holding you back. When you're constantly fighting players below your skill level, you're developing bad habits that will get you killed in tournaments. You won't notice the mistakes you're doing in these fights because the worst players aren't pushing you for them and aren't taking advantage of the mistakes because they're not good enough to see them or to counter them. But the moment you step into a cash cup or face someone who knows what they're doing, these habits become obvious and are the reason you will die. I see this all the time when I'm coaching. Players think they're doing fine until they face real competition. You need to be actively seeking out better players to fight and not get upset if you're losing to them, because this is all part of the learning process. This means grinding some sort of ranked, playing scrims, entering every tournament you can, or even better, going into a Discord server. I'll leave the link in the description, and that link will only work for EU, but I'll also leave the American one down in the description too. I don't really know any others, but if you want to know and you're not from either America or EU, just search up what Discord servers you can use for finding better players in Fortnite. Basically, what these Discord servers can do for you is, to start, you can play scrims, but also if you message in one of the 1v1 chats, all you have to say is 1v1 and then enter what kind of PR you want to be playing against. You'll then get better players. Or even if you don't put what PR you want to play against, all the players in there are going to be much better than the players you play normally, because they're actually trying to get good at the game. This is the only way you'll expose the weaknesses in your gameplay, and is the most efficient way to improve. I promise you that this is the reason the pros are pros. They didn't play people that were rubbish and were so much worse than them. They only played people that were much better than them, and this is why they got so unbelievably good. So if you want to go pro, this is the actual thing that will increase your chances the most. So next up, we're going into bad open edits. Now, I said about earlier something about open edits being bad, and I do agree with this. However, in that small percentage, there can be very good situations that you can use an open edit. But the problem is most people are doing open edits completely wrong. You're doing an open edit, but kind of blindly, and you're doing it in the wrong moments. You've probably had this one time where you've done an open edit at the exact same time that your opponent has swung his pickaxe, and then you have completely ended the fight because he swung his pickaxe and you shot at the same time, and it felt really cool and you felt really good at the game. But this was most likely luck if you wasn't doing this. The only time you should really do an open edit is if you have full awareness on exactly what your opponent is doing. To have full awareness on what your opponent is doing, you need to be able to basically see them through the wall. If you can see them through the wall ever so slightly, and you see that they have their shotgun out, and you then still do a wide edit, you're dumb. You're just going to get one pumped because they're already there with their shotgun out, and they're going to be able to shoot before you and then place something to protect themselves. But if you see them double swinging their pickaxe at your wall, definitely do an open edit, because this will leave them so vulnerable, which then allows you to edit, shoot, and then reset and block the shot that comes your way. And this is just an amazing way to get some free damage as long as it's done properly. And this is the biggest problem with open edits. You have to master your awareness on your opponent before you can even think about doing open edits, because if you do a bad open edit in a tournament, it can completely ruin the whole tournament. So I've stopped the video again quickly to show an example of how open edits can be used as well. So what happens is I take this guy out here, I then see this other guy, I see he's above me, I'll see him pull out his shotgun right here, and if we slow it down, I see that, I reset, he shoots the floor, which then allows me to counter. Let's pretend this floor here didn't break when he shot it. We could have instead then done an open edit, because his shotgun has to wait to be able to shoot again, so you could have open edited, shot, and then reset. Next up, I want to address the overall awareness of your game, or rather the lack of it. This is crucial because I see so many players tunnel visioning on their own builds without any idea what their opponent is doing, what they're holding, what their tendencies are in the fight. So basically what they're probably going to do next, what they're thinking. Are they going to be aggressive? Are they going to try and take height? Are they just spam editing? What do they have piece control on? Do they have good aim? Do they have good peaks? All this information lets you predict their next move and counter it, and should be what's on your mind in each fight. Without this level of awareness, you're just building and editing blindly and hoping it works. That is not how you win tournaments, and is definitely not how pros are so consistently winning. Being able to properly predict exactly where your opponent's going to go and exactly how to counter it can be unbelievably beneficial. One way to kind of tell what your opponent is doing is just by looking at them and using your visual sound effects. Using your visual sound effects can really help just see where the opponent's moving and which way they're moving. Obviously, I've made it sound very simple, just like be aware of your opponent, but it is very hard to get down, and is one that you're going to have to spend loads of time doing and just thinking about within fights. Eventually, you'll start to learn what most players do and be able to counter this. And a very good example of this, for me personally, is side jumps. I used to get countered with side jumps and lose every single fight to a side jump. But now I just know it's coming, because over time, I decided to think about it and think about what they're going to do. And I started assuming that they're going to do a side jump, because I already knew that's what other players do too. So now what I do is I just catch them in their side jump, full box them, and take them out using their own move. Next up is replay analysis. If you're not recording or watching your gameplays, you are missing out on a massive improvement opportunity. Every single pro that you have ever seen has done this, and probably still does do this, and there is a massive reason for it. When you're in a fight, you're obviously thinking about the fight, so you miss so many details and little mistakes that you make. You need to be watching through your deaths and asking yourself the hard question: why did you lose that fight, and what could you have done differently? Was your positioning wrong? Was it a bad edit? Was it an open edit? Was it bad peak? Was it anything in this video? Was it a bad prediction? Was it not having a cone in your box? Was it not having two or more spaces. Everything should be taken into account when watching back, and not only just in the fight, but for the whole entire game. Looking at the whole game and seeing where you decided to rotate and if it was right or wrong can help you so much, especially in solos, because you're going to have to be the one IGLing yourself all the time. But it's not just about watching, it's also about taking notes and understanding why you made these mistakes and how to fix them. And this then leads me into my last point. Finally, let's talk about focused practice. Random practice is killing your improvement. You can't just hop into creative and freestyle without a plan. You need to have specific goals for each practice session, and this then links back to watching what happens in your games. If in one of your games you saw that you died because you made a bad open edit, you then want to go into creative against some opponents and practice doing good open edits. If the reason you died was because you did a bad peek, just go into Raider 464's map and practice peeks, and then go into creative again into some 1v1 map or something, and make sure when you're doing a peek that you're not messing it up like you did in the tournament. This is the real way to actually improve, and having this laser focus on one aspect at a time is how you turn your weaknesses into your strengths. I see way too many players just grinding edit courses or free building without any purpose, and I feel kind of bad because they're putting in the time, they're putting in the hours, they're putting in the hard work, but they're just not doing it in the smart way. No matter how hard you work, if you're not working smart as well as hard, you're going to put yourself in a very awkward situation where you feel like you should be progressing, but you're not going to be. And this is then going to demotivate you and make you feel like you should quit. Having the determination to look at every single one of your weaknesses and going into creative and spending hours and hours on each weakness and just fixing them completely is the real way that you're going to see improvement. But here is the thing about all of these mistakes. They are all very fixable, but you just need to be honest with yourself about which ones you're making. Just take it one step at a time, fix whatever you're worst at first, and then work on whatever's second worst, then work at what's third worst, and just keep going and keep going, because this is how you actually progress towards going pro. It's not about having crazy mechanics or doing flashy retakes. It's just about eliminating these fundamental mistakes in your gameplay. Remember, becoming pro isn't just some mysterious process. It's about identifying these weaknesses and systematically eliminating them from your gameplay. Start working on these today and you'll see immediate improvement in your tournament performance. And even you just watching this video is a great step in the right direction. I have faith that everyone that has watched this far into the video will go pro. Comment down below what video you want to see next, and I'll see you all next time.